Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Bitcoin News Weekly Live. I'm your host, Rob Wallace, and we've got a big one today. Let's start off. For the past 6 weeks, Bitcoin's price has been pummeled. Alongside that beating, we have been witnessing a coordinated full spectrum assault on some of the most influential pro-Bitcoin voices in America. We're talking David Sacks, Paulo Adrino from Tether, Jack Mallers, Michael Saylor. They're all taking major hits at the same time. Welcome to Operation Chokepoint 3.0. The bankers have declared total war on Bitcoin. Now let's look at the battlefield. First, they come for the infrastructure. Jack Mallers, CEO of Strike, has his account from JPMorgan Chase shut down after calling Jamie Dimon Jeffrey Epstein's banker. They don't give him an explanation, despite an executive order from Trump that explicitly prohibits this type of debanking. Next, they target the liquidity. Tether, the lifeblood of global crypto markets, was downgraded by S&P to a stability score of weak, claiming they are under-collateralized. Even Arthur Hayes has started throwing shade, saying a 30% drop in Bitcoin would wipe out their equity. But Paulo Adrino, he's fired back with receipts, saying Tether has $30 billion more in total assets than total liabilities. In a system full of insolvent fractional reserve banks, Tether is the only overcapitalized player. And then they pivot to politics. The New York Times drops a sprawling hit piece on David Sacks, the crypto czar of America. They spent 5 months trying to manufacture a conflict of interest story. When they found nothing, they published the nothing burger anyway. Why? To weaken the pro-Bitcoin voice inside the White House. And then finally, they come for Giga Chad himself, Michael Saylor. You've seen the Ponzi accusations flying around X. They want you to believe that MicroStrategy is one dip to 74K away from liquidation. But let's be clear, there are no margin calls. Saylor's debt is fixed long-term and unshakable. So you have to ask yourself, why now? Why is the FUD dial turned to 11? The answer is simple. The legacy financial system has witnessed the legitimization of Bitcoin, and they are scared. This is the monetary war we have been warning you about. The Trump administration is preparing to weaponize the Bitcoin and stablecoin flywheel to break the monopoly the banks have had over the money supply for a century. New bills like the Genius Act and the Clarity Act threaten to shift money creation away from the Fed and the big banks and towards a more decentralized network. The banks are staring down the barrel of increased irrelevance, and as they lose control of the money printer. VJ has pointed out himself, he said, expect maximum FUD right before the clean break upward because max FUD usually marks a bottom. They're trying to shake you out. They're trying to humiliate the loudest voices pushing Bitcoin forward. They are fighting for their lives because for the first time in 100 years, people are beginning to believe there is another way to run this system. Welcome to Bitcoin News Weekly Live. And today, I'm very grateful to be joined by Jimmy Block, co-founder of the Smash Toshi Collective. Jimmy, how you doing?
Very good, Rob. Good to be here.
Yes, welcome. So you are in New York today for a special event. Tell us what's going on.
Yes, we've it's been 4.5 years and finally launching today. So we've got the history of Bitcoin, which is a project which looks through the whole history of Bitcoin using art as well as research. So that all lives for free online at historybitcoin.io. And then it comes in a very premium collector's book, of which there's a first edition made from 5,000-year-old fossilized oak. And an hour ago, that went live on Scarcity. So to celebrate that, we've got an event tonight at the Cup of Key. So if anyone's in New York, please do come and join us. Yeah, we're gonna celebrate the launch, and that auction runs until the 10th of December. So it's in support of My First Bitcoin, which is an incredible charity. So we're looking to get as much money for them as possible.
Wonderful. Yes. So the history of Bitcoin is this beautiful book, but also a website. And so you've worked with over 128 creators, right? Artists and Bitcoin figures of the past 15, 17 years or so. Tell us more about what went into creating this project.
Yeah, so say started 4.5 years ago. So sort of looking at the markets now, but when we started it, Bitcoin was at $8,200. It's taken some time to get here, but yeah, as you say, 128 different artists. So each one was assigned one of the events. So it starts at the Merkle tree, some of the technical stuff sort of leading up to the launch of Bitcoin. Then we've got sort of the first public thing is Bitcoin.org getting registered, and then it goes into the white paper, the source code, all these different types of things. And then we explore all these different sort of interesting stuff from a social level, technical level, mining, all of it, kind of looking at that history over time. Most of the events are sort of pre-2012, because I think that's where we find most of the interesting stuff. And then on top of that, we've then interviewed over 100 sort of Bitcoiners, many names that you'll know, in order to get the sort of copy that goes behind each of these events, right? It's an art project, but actually it's really the equivalent of reading a whole book about the history of Bitcoin, right? It's got like 80,000 words on the website, which is entirely free. Our idea is that get people to understand Bitcoin as much as possible, not just from a technical level, but actually understanding sort of socially, how did it grow from one person, a group of people coming up with this concept, to where we are today. And it's, as you say, it's the financial system's getting shaken up. It's presidential elections, all the rest of it, right? So we kind of explore that story, trying to do it on sort of an objective way, just to analyze it and sort of let people know all these different events that happen. And what I found is that the more people understand it from a how we got here, people kind of dig a bit deeper into it and really understand Bitcoin, which is what we want as many people as to do as possible.
I mean, just from the looks of it, I mean, this video is so well put together. This book looks like it's absolutely made of the finest ingredients. Tell us about the creation of the book itself and what makes it so premium.
Yeah, I mean, the book is it is definitely one of a kind. So you've got the first edition, which is 5,000-year-old fossilized oak. So there's only one person in England who knows how to treat this wood. It's very, very fine wood. They have to sort of dig it up, stumble across it. A farmer finds it. He then gives this guy a call. He rushes down, he treats it, and then got turned into this. And then on top of that, it comes with a Bitcoin emblem, which was made by Ashbury Studios, very old sort of jewelry house in London. So the first edition is definitely the standout piece, which is the one that's gone to auction. But then there's going to be 2,140 of the collector's edition, which is still very, very high level, right? So all of the pages lay flat. So no matter where you open it up in the book, it's sort of uninterrupted art. This, as far as we can tell, is the largest lay flat book that's ever existed, right? We had to get structural engineers and scientists involved to actually figure out how to do this, because traditionally lay flat books are not this size or have thin paper, but this is effectively having like 128 art prints in your house, right? So it took a lot of trial and errors to make sure that the product was the quality it is, right? It comes in a bull leather. We had to do that, of course, orange bull leather, encasing it, and then the pages have 40 different printing techniques, different paper stocks, and all the rest of it, right? There was no expense spared. It's been printed between England, Italy, different printing houses in order to do different techniques, and it's a real kind of one-off piece, I would say. When people sort of see the book for the first time, they kind of grasp the quality of it from the print to all the rest of it. And then the stand, which comes with the collector's edition, is again custom made, all made by hand. It's engraved with the Bitcoin white paper, so it's a real kind of beautiful piece to have, in your home or your office or a gallery, whatever it may be. And then alongside that, it comes with a smaller book. So the main book is pure art. We didn't want to interrupt the art, so that you'd have it in your home. You go, I love the white paper piece, whatever it may be. But then it comes with a smaller book, which has the writing in it. So that's the writing that appears on the website, historybitcoin.io, with all that, the interviews, sort of digging into the people who are actually in the stories and sort of, looking at it from an interesting level.
Wonderful. And have you ever done anything like this before in your life? Have you created an art book before?
I haven't created an art book. Thankfully, others involved who are, they have done lots of sort of very high level books from the production level, royal families and all those types of things. So it's used to making very small runs of very premium books, right? This is not something you can, you're mass producing in tens of thousands, right? Because it's just too complex to do. So the team involved, originally it was a group of Bitcoiners, and then it grew to a pretty wide collective. I'd say there's currently over 300 people who worked on it in some capacity, right? So from craftsmen to writers to obviously the artists, lots of different people who had to bring different skill sets way beyond my own. So that's why it's sort of a passion of love from so many people, which is why I think it's such a stunning piece.
Yeah, man. It's such a cool project, taking the input of so many different people who have touched Bitcoin over the last decade plus and making something to stand the test of time. Really, really cool project. And it's live now, right? People can go and
Yeah, so
get on the
the
auction?
first edition is live as of an hour and 10 minutes ago. So 1,000,000 sats is the current bid, which was I'm pleased to see that coming in quickly. As I say, it's going to My First Bitcoin, which is the education charity, and that's live. Then the collector's edition, of which there will be a total of 2,140, but at the beginning there's a Genesis block, so there's only going to be 256 available. And that's going to be on show in Bitcoin Mina in sort of 8 to 9 days, and that people can sign up at the moment for the pre-sale list. So there'll be an opportunity on the 10th of December to buy it at that point, but you can add your details now, and then you get an exclusive 48-hour period, which you could purchase it before it sort of hits the general market. But as I say, there's only going to be 256 in this Genesis block.
Yeah, and I mean, it's amazing to see something that has taken 4 years of your life to create finally be let out into the wild, into the real world. So very happy for you guys to have this amazing occasion, and you're going to be partying tonight in New York City to celebrate the event, right?
Yeah, that's right, PubKey. I've sort of seen it online for ages, but yeah, I'm based in London, right? So I actually had one of the first bars in London to take Bitcoin. So I always love to see these initiatives. And obviously PubKey, incredible place, do some incredible events, discount if you buy in Bitcoin, which we love to see. So yeah, we'll be down there tonight celebrating. And then tomorrow we're off to Dubai, and then we've got an event on the 4th at Mondor Gallery. Looking very busy, that one. So, but if anyone is in town, please do sign up. We're trying to approve as many people as we can. And then, yeah, as I say, off to Bitcoin Mina. So it's a bit of a tour, and we've already been in a few locations. So yeah, it's, as you say, it's been a long time. So it's fun to be out there and showing people now, rather than just showing them the concept behind the scenes.
Yeah, absolutely. You're like a rock star going across the world. London, New York, Dubai. Very cool. Very, very cool. So yes, we are here, and the show is Bitcoin News Weekly Live, because every Monday morning at 7 a.m. Eastern, we release our newsletter, Bitcoin News Weekly, and then we go live at 11 a.m. with a new guest every week to break down, get their perspective on what is actually going on in Bitcoin, dissecting the biggest headlines so you are up to date. Don't need to spend your whole life scrolling. Let us do that for you. Just get all your updates in one place in one tight hour, and boom, you're ready for the week ahead. So this week's edition is entitled Max FUD. This max FUD is what marks the bottom. Strategy panic and Tether downgrades have piled on, but Bitcoin has rebounded 13% from the depths. Well, it's a little bit different this morning. Bitcoin is at 84,000, having taken a hit last night, as some say that the Japanese yen carry trade is unwinding, and that could be a reason why. But we are still above the bottom that we hit about 2 weeks ago when we went down to 80,500. We are still above that, and I think that still gives reason to believe that, hey, we could still be on the way back up. So let's examine what's going on. It seems as if there is some sort of coordinated attack, Operation Chokepoint 3.0. Everybody who's a big voice in Bitcoin is getting lambasted in the media, on the timeline. What is really going on here? Let's dive into it. So we always start off with our adoption section, and the first headline in the adoption section, of course, is about history of Bitcoin. We just talked about that. The book is now live. There is an auction going on over on Scarce.city. How do you pronounce that?
Scarcity, yeah.
Scarcity, yes. So head over there. You can auction on the first book, and but check it out. Click on this link. Go to their homepage and over on X, and you can get all the info you want on this book that we just heard Jimmy talk about. And yeah, it's really something beautiful. I think this is a great addition to just the Bitcoin culture in general. So we wrapped that up, but want to make sure that people know they can go click on that link right there on the newsletter and go get the latest info on the project. So second in the adoption section is that Money Badger. They are a Bitcoin payments processor over in South Africa, and they released a map that shows the thousands of merchants that accept Bitcoin in South Africa, noting that the map only captures about 10% of real adoption, because adding all the businesses would make the map too slow. So you really got to see this to get a feel for what is going on here. But yes, Bitcoin adoption is exploding in South Africa. Just look at all these merchants. You can go pretty much anywhere in Cape Town or Johannesburg, and they will accept Bitcoin because they work with this payments processor, Money Badger, and they are allowing you to pay for Bitcoin when you pay for gas, when you get your groceries at Pick and Pay, their biggest grocery store, right? Really amazing things in terms of Bitcoin adoption in South Africa. Jimmy, have you ever been to South Africa?
I have not been to South Africa. I would like to go. So it's a good location for the Brits because it's got the same time zone. So yeah, I want to get over there in the winter period.
Yeah, I think it's just about getting nice there now. Seems absolutely beautiful, and there's lots of cool Bitcoin projects going on, like Bitcoin Akasi. These guys, they have set up a surf school, and they fund a lot of small merchants and help them accept Bitcoin. And they're really helping spread the word around South Africa about Bitcoin. And so this map is just mind blowing. And again, this is only 10% of all the merchants in South Africa that accept Bitcoin, because having all of them would make the map load too slow. So really cool stuff being accomplished over in South Africa on behalf of Money Badger Pay. Go check out these guys. They're doing the good work over there in South Africa. And then in terms of Lightning Network, we have Amboss showing their metrics, showing that yields are stabilizing, liquidity costs are falling, and the market volume is rising, signaling strengthening fundamentals for Bitcoin and broader network decentralization. So yes, Amboss, of course, they are a big Lightning infrastructure provider, and they've got the stats, and everything they say is that the Lightning Network is on the up and up. Yields are stabilizing, liquidity costs are falling, and the liquidity market volume is growing. So there's been lots of FUD around the Lightning Network saying that it hasn't lived up to its promises of what it could provide. But I mean, from the looks of everything, the Lightning Network is as strong as ever. Do you use the Lightning Network usually, Jimmy?
I use it at events, yeah, conferences and that kind of stuff. You know, pub key tonight, buy some beers. I had a bar where we were taking Lightning sort of back in 26, sorry, taking Bitcoin in 2016, and then you start taking some Lightning. And it was interesting because we were hosting Bitcoin meetups, but the amount of people who actually wanted to spend their Bitcoin at that time was very low. So it's good to see some activity and some people actually using it.
Were you one of the first pubs in the UK to start accepting Bitcoin?
Yes, yeah. It was one of the not the first. I thought it was, and someone corrected me the other day actually, but yeah, one of the very first. Yeah.
And did the adoption pick up? Were more and more people paying with Bitcoin, or was it just for the novelty of being able to do it?
It was Bitcoin meetups, and people would come in, and then it was more test it, did it work? So I was giving discounts in order to encourage it. And then I've got another bar now where we take Bitcoin, but again, it's not that many people do it. But what you do see is that when you get on these maps, people actually come to the venue, right? So while it might be a low percentage of people who are just organically turning up and want to, you actually bring in that crowd, right? So it's kind of a nice thing to do.
Yeah, Bitcoiners want to support Bitcoin businesses. And as we say almost every week here, we do think it's important for people to be familiar with how to spend their Bitcoin, right? How to send a transaction, how to use your Lightning wallet. Bitcoin, I think if it becomes this fossilized digital pet rock that just sits custodied in ETFs and in Wall Street wrappers, it loses its power. So I think people need to become more comfortable with going out there, spending their Bitcoin, getting used to it. And of course, you can just spend and replace, right? You buy a $10 item with your Bitcoin, just go and buy $10 worth of Bitcoin to replace it. It's not that big of a deal. And I think it definitely strengthens the network, right? If we need velocity with Bitcoin. Are you in that camp, or are you strictly in the store value camp?
Yeah, I mean, so it's one of the things we cover in the book, right? We look at all of the first transaction that happened online, going forward to BitPay, getting set up, and actually sort of looking at that journey of how it went from not even being able to have an exchange to then people using it in a more face-to-face environment. So I'm certainly see the argument just to hold on and because I'm a long-term believer, but as you say, actually using it and making it something, I think strengthens the network. So I think it's an important thing to do.
Yeah. And speaking about the network, let's jump over to the legal section. And because there is a petition going around urging Trump to pardon the Samurai wallet developers, Keone Rodriguez and William Hill. They are first-time offenders who built, of course, non-custodial Bitcoin privacy software. And this petition has finally surpassed 2,500 signatures. So the petition went live last week. We're at 2,650. The goal is 100,000 signatures because Keone is set to report to prison in less than 1 month. So we've started, we've got some signatures going, but we got to push this hard. We've been posting about this a couple times over the last week. And of course, these guys are going to jail for writing software, writing code, privacy software. Do you have you looked into the Samurai Wallet case at all, Jimmy?
I haven't. I've looked at it briefly, but yeah, I wouldn't say I'm an expert on it. But yeah, obviously Trump has been pardoning people of recent times, so it's an interesting one to see if he's see if he extends it to these guys. But it sounds like you've looked at it a lot closer, and you think it's they should.
Yeah, I mean, these guys, they were not laundering money, right? They were never in charge of anybody's funds. The Bitcoin transactions just ran through the software and were then had greater privacy, right? So these innovators created tools to shield lawful transactions from surveillance, protecting dissidents, donors, and ordinary citizens alike. But the DOJ's radical overreach, ignoring FinCEN's pre-indictment advice that they weren't a money transmitter, hiding exculpatory evidence for over a year in a Brady violation, and twisting laws to criminalize privacy code has led to devastation. So yeah, Keone was sentenced on November 6th to 5 years in prison as they took a plea deal. And part of the plea deal was that they could not appeal any sentence 5 years or less. So the judge gave them the max 5 years. And that's a lot of time. That's a lot of time to be in jail for writing code. So this isn't justice. It's a chilling attack on free speech and innovation. As Rep. Warren Davidson put it, it's like blaming Microsoft for drug cartels downloading and using Excel. And again, I mean, that's always that's where do you draw the line, right? Between creating a tool and then criminals going and using that tool. And this was used by way more just average ordinary people wanting to keep their privacy with Bitcoin, because of course we all know that Bitcoin is only pseudo-anonymous, that if they can tie the UTXO to an exchange where you gave your KYC information, they know what Bitcoin is moving around. So they provided a service for people to have more privacy, financial privacy, when using their Bitcoin. And now they are going to prison for it. So yes, I highly recommend you go and sign this petition. I did it on another browser. It takes just a couple of minutes, and we can. There should be 100,000 Bitcoiners out there who care enough about privacy and justice to go out there, sign this petition, and I think 100,000 signatures might actually move the needle. Yeah. Do you think there's 100,000 Bitcoiners out there that care enough about privacy to go sign this petition?
I'm sure there is. Just need awareness, right? That's the key. But
Yeah.
certainly out there. But yeah, just need to be made aware of the case, I'm sure.
Is privacy a part of the history of Bitcoin book at all? Do you guys touch on that at all?
Yeah, we sort of touch on it in various different ways. But yeah, it's clearly an important subject. So yeah, I'll watch that one with interest. I'm going to look into it a little bit more after this call and get up to speed.
Yeah, I mean, they were first arrested, sentenced under the Biden regime, right? And that was during Chokepoint 2.0. And since the Trump administration has come in, they've made a bunch of supposed steps to make sure that this overreach does not happen again. But we are seeing some crazy things like Jack Mallers get debanked, right, from JPMorgan, which Trump wrote an executive order for that type of thing to never happen again. Yet it still happened. And this case has just moved on from the Biden regime into the Trump regime and has got this unfortunate result. So we've obviously shown that Bitcoiners have some political power, have plenty of political power. I mean, I think Trump is in the White House because of, in part, due to the Bitcoiners' contributions. So let's make sure that he knows that we think that this is one of the most important issues out there right now, and that if he wants to be a Bitcoin president, he could show it with this. Also, in the legal section, we've got news coming out of France. France has become a global hotspot for wrench attacks, with Jameson Lopp estimating the country accounts for 25% of cases involving abduction, torture, and coercion to steal crypto keys. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy the amount of headlines that have come out of France over the last year or so of people getting kidnapped, getting attacked for their Bitcoin, right? Do you think this is a problem unique to France, or are we seeing this more and more all over?
Yeah, I mean, it's a problem in the UK as well. A lot of people I've seen get targeted with. I mean, it's a big thing is phone thefts, which is people will sort of follow you, make sure when they see you that you're logged into your phone, and then try and find your hot wallet. So I know some people that's happened to. Not quite as extreme as the actual sort of abductions and this type of thing, but yeah, look, it's a tricky one, right? So we always teach, you need to have your own keys and such, but obviously it does come with risks, and people have to be cautious and manage their own security in an efficient way.
Yeah, I mean, it happened last week too to Sam Altman's ex-boyfriend. A courier came up to his house in San Francisco, said he had a package to deliver. He needed a signature. He's like, "Oh, I forgot my pen. Do you have a pen inside?" He let him inside to sign, and then he was tied up and tortured and had $11 million worth of Bitcoin and other crypto stolen from him. But you brought up something interesting. I knew that phone theft was an issue in London, right? But they're actually making sure that they don't steal it until they see that they're unlocked. The phone is unlocked. Is that true?
Yeah. So it's snatch it, and then they've very efficiently. I've seen it happen multiple times where quickly going through people's emails for all the different stuff that they can access in order to get some access to various different ways, cleaning out exchanges and that type of stuff. So yeah, it seems to me when I've seen these happen that they were targeted just because of the level of efficiency and professional. It's not steal the phone and sell it to China or whatever. It seems like there's a pretty coordinated situation going on. So I always tell people to be as cautious as possible, not to have too much on their phone or easily accessible in any way, right? So if something like this does happen, you have a valid reason that you can't access it, and hopefully protect yourself.
Yeah, I mean, some words of advice here are multi-sig, right? As long as your keys are geographically distributed, there's a much less likely chance that they can get you under duress in a limited situation and make you move your Bitcoin. So yes, definitely have your keys in different physical locations so they cannot at one swipe just send your Bitcoin somewhere. Two is, if you are in a situation where they're trying to abduct you, fight like hell to not get in the van. The odds of things going poorly multiply greatly if they are able to get you to a different location. So scream, yell if you're in public. Don't let them get in your van. And then thirdly, it's there are services now for Bitcoiners for security. I believe one is called Glock. And so that provides different levels of being able to protect you. The physical security is on their menu as well. And as Nima here says here in the chat, for the love of God, stay silent about your stash online. Yeah, never post any screenshots about how much Bitcoin you have or talk about how much Bitcoin, and never ask anyone how much Bitcoin they have. That is private information. And one thing that is very cool about the Bitcoin community is that there's never really any pressure to share how much Bitcoin you have. And if there is, they could be a bad actor. So probably not associate with that person. Yeah, it's a crazy world out there. And Bitcoin is valuable, and some people are wild enough to try to take it. And to round out the legal section, Do Kwon, who has pleaded guilty to conspiracy and wire fraud tied to the $40 billion Terra USD collapse, is asking a U.S. judge for a 5-year sentence, citing forfeitures and harsh time served in Montenegro. So, I mean, I think when he, of course, Do Kwon, he is the mastermind behind the Terra USD and Luna implosion. This was a algorithmic stablecoin that was supposed to be backed by Bitcoin and have large reserves. But of course, when it all started to implode, they sold a bunch of Bitcoin. He ran off with a bunch of funds. I believe when he was arrested, he had, 19 million in forfeited assets that he was in control of at the time. And he's been locked up in Montenegro. That's where they caught him with multiple passports. And so now he is trying to say he's already served 3 years waiting for this sentencing. But now he is facing a U.S. judge, and his lawyers say, don't give him the full sentence, just make it 5 years. Pretty crazy stuff. Do you think 5 years is enough prison time for somebody who caused such a devastation?
Yeah, I mean, this guy's responsible for suicides and all the rest of it, right? So it's, I guess the only positive is it sort of taught people of the value of ignoring these types of people and probably just holding in Bitcoin as the more sensible route forward.
Yeah, of course they were offering crazy yield, like 20% yield, like all these crazy. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And another reason to be Bitcoin only.
Yeah, he wasn't the first, and he won't be the last, unfortunately. So yeah, you need to just be.
Yes.
There's always a cycle, and there's always a new thing, right? So you just need to keep your eye on the prize overall, which is Bitcoin itself.
Exactly, 100%. And now we hop over to the market section. JPMorgan, big news last week. They launched a structured note offering a preset payout based on the performance of IBIT, the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF. The product provides investors with Bitcoin-linked exposure without granting direct ownership of Bitcoin. So JPMorgan, was a bunch of talk last week about how they raised the margin requirement on MSTR from 50% to 95% over the summer. And a lot of people tied that directly to the poor performance in MSTR. And they also came out and with some FUD the last week talking about the MSCI report that says MSTR might be delisted from indexes for being more of a fund than a company. But then we see JPMorgan come out and offer their own product. So, of course, as we were just saying, nothing beats cold, hard Bitcoin in cold storage with the private keys that you control. But it's worth investigating how JPMorgan and Wall Street is diving into the new playground, which they have found, which is Bitcoin. So they've got this thing, this structured note, and this article over here on Bitcoin News lays it out pretty clearly as to how it all works. So JPMorgan's IBIT linked structured notes are a type of investment where your final payout depends on how the IBIT performs over time. They blend a bond with a derivative. So the return follows preset rules instead of simply using rising or falling with the ETF. So some examples of how this would work. You put in $1,000 this month. IBIT's price is $100 on the day. And if IBIT's price is more than $100 in December 26, a year from now, the note is automatically called. You get your $1,000 back plus a 16% premium. So 1,160. And then it ends right there. However, if the price is lower in 2026, you maintain the note. And then if Bitcoin goes up in 2028, one example, if IBIT's price doubles by December 2028, the increase is 100%, of course. You will get your $1,000 plus 1.5 times the gains. That would be $1,000 plus 100% times 1.5, which comes out to 2,500. So what is this at the end of the day? It really is protection, because everybody thinks that 2026 is going to be a down year for Bitcoin if it follows the cycles. But we also think that if you continue with the 4-year cycles, that 2028 should be another blow off top, as we were supposed to have this year. So it's limiting your downside and capping your upside, but provides you with protection either way. So it's sort of a win-win if Bitcoin goes down in the next year. Or up, because you get that 16%, and then it provides you 1.5 times the gains if it goes up in 2028. So Wall Street is not going to stop playing games. They've figured out all these different ways to play with the Bitcoin's price action now that there is the ETF. And it's just pretty astonishing that JPMorgan has jumped into this game after fudding Bitcoin for so long. Jamie Dimon has been a real enemy of Bitcoin, talking to Congress multiple times about how he believes Bitcoin is trash and should be illegal in many regards. And now he's offering a product from his bank. So yes, Jimmy, do you have any thoughts on this structured note from JPMorgan?
Yeah, it's a thing that we cover in the book as well. We look at Jamie's original comments, then we look at the ETFs, and obviously now people are coming up with some more interesting things. I can see the value in ETFs. They give access to people in pensions and other instruments, but ultimately I think it's better to hold Bitcoin, and ultimately I think it's best not to have things that involve leverage, derivatives, and just financial engineering, right? I think if you just take a long-term view and buy and hold, it's a more sensible strategy than trying to bring in these additional complexities. And clearly, at the end of the day, you're not actually holding Bitcoin. While you might have some exposure to it, you're still stuck within an old system and an old way of doing things. So, in some ways, I'm glad that he's changed his tune a little bit from where calling it fraud and all the rest. But yeah, I think it's best to keep away from anything too sophisticated, as they would call it. But adding in complexity, which I just don't think's needed, really.
Do you think that the ETFs and the financialization of Bitcoin is just a necessary step in its journey towards becoming a neutral world reserve asset? Or do you think that there is some fear that it's becoming too financialized, too Wall Street focused?
Yeah, I mean, if you went back 10 years ago, right, the conversations we were having were not praying for an ETF, right? So the world changed a little bit from where when we were having early meetups and all the rest of it. So it is an interesting time. Could you stop it? No. I mean, it's sort of the same as governments buying as such. It was always inevitable that this would be the case, right? Is it the best thing? That's something else that can be argued, but ultimately, I think it's something that you can't stop. When people see the value in Bitcoin, it's they're going to want to own it from various different ways, and corporations and ETFs and governments are a logical step that's going to happen. But it's important that you sort of maintain the original concept, and it's not just becoming this financial engineering and kind of becoming the thing that maybe it shouldn't. We were trying to be against early on. So I think it's always good to look at it from a balanced point of view. But look, ultimately, Bitcoin is decentralized, and people can do what they want, right? So I think you just have to make your own decisions and invest accordingly.
And how exactly did you get into Bitcoin? I mean, it's been over a decade now, right?
I was a stockbroker back in the day, and I was hearing about Bitcoin, and at first it was just a case of volatility, and I was like, this is a fun thing to sort of trade because it was going up and down so much that I was looking at it from that, and then very quickly sort of started digging in and going, oh, hang on, there's a bit more to this than I first realized, right? So and I wanted to recommend it to my clients at the time, and I was told that was very much not something that could happen, funnily enough. So that was a good sort of 8 years ago now. But last year they've started letting my old firm speak to clients about it. But yeah, I sort of had a look around, and I was like, had to leave that world, and went Bitcoin only.
Did you understand the Austrian economics when you first saw Bitcoin, or did Bitcoin open the door for you for that?
Yeah, I mean, I conceptually understood economics and such, but yeah, got me digging into it. I mean, what first really entertained me personally was like the social side of it, sort of actually exploring how the concepts got spread around, and Bitcoin can be a good idea, but ultimately if it's not having things like this or conferences or first transactions and all these different elements of it, then it wouldn't work, right? So that's what really got me personally fascinated, and that's something we dig into the book. But yeah, it's certainly wouldn't have predicted that it would be presidential elections when I was looking at 8 years ago, or even getting formalized in the form of ETFs and all that kind of stuff. So it's been an interesting one to watch over that period.
Yeah, it is fascinating how, I mean, Bitcoin has no marketing team, no foundation, right? I mean, it's purely a peer-to-peer driven phenomenon where it's people like us who are driven to stand up and say something about it, talk about it incessantly, and get other people to hear about it. And everybody goes on their own Bitcoin journey, of course, but it's something that it inspires people to take up its cause and spread like a mind virus, a meme in which it.
Yeah, I think it's got millions of people in its marketing team, right? Because
yes.
everyone's got their own take on it and their own look at it. That's something I love. It's not one idea fits all. There's different ways that you come at it. So I love seeing that different views, and that's got us to where we are now.
And just speaking of different views, was there any piece or contributor to your book, History of Bitcoin, that really opened your eyes to something you had never thought of before?
Well, most of it's entertaining because it's basically people involved in the stories. So yeah, I wouldn't say eye-opening in the sense that we weren't, they were concepts that we knew about, but it was people giving little bits of trivia that I found sort of particularly interesting, sort of digging into all these people involved in different elements and sort of seeing these little small things that actually you go, actually, if that didn't happen, that wouldn't have happened, and following those chain of events and sort of, so it was, I sort of love seeing that exponential growth of it, right? As you say, there's no marketing team. So if you didn't have that event leading to this event, would you be at the presidential elections? And it's kind of an interesting story that I think is, it needs to be preserved.
Yes, a butterfly flaps its wings in Japan, and there's a tidal wave over here. Absolutely. Yeah. Continuing on in the market section. So yeah, Tether CEO Paulo Arduino fires back after the S&P downgraded USDT to its weakest stability tier, arguing legacy finance feels threatened by a highly profitable company operating outside its broken system. So yeah, as we talked about at the top of the show, it really does feel as if Operation Chokepoint 3.0 is in full swing. Saylor's getting attacked. Tether is getting attacked. S&P just downgraded them, and then the rumor mill starts back up again on X. And then just this last weekend, David Sachs, the crypto czar, he gets a huge hit piece done on him by the New York Times, and he already issued a 15-page rebuttal saying that the whole entire thing is bunk. But super interesting what's going on here with Tether, right? Yeah, so S&P downgraded them, saying that they rely too much on assets such as Bitcoin and gold. And as we did just see, a big drop in Bitcoin, but that really doesn't, they're over collateralized, right? They've got $184 billion worth of stablecoin liabilities, and they've got $215 billion worth of assets. But Paulo comes out here and says the traditional finance propaganda machine is growing worried when any company tries to defy the force of gravity of the broken financial system. No company should dare to decouple itself from it. Tether instead built the first overcapitalized company in the financial industry with no toxic reserves, and yet is and remains extremely profitable. Tether is living proof that the traditional financial system is so broken that it's becoming feared by the emperors with no clothes. So yeah, what do you think about this? Do you have opinions on Tether and the current situation? And do you think Operation Chokepoint 3.0 is going on right now?
Yeah, again, it's something we cover in the book, the launch of Tether. Clearly, stablecoins have been an important bit of the story, and from my view, it looks like the Americans are keen to control that market. Right, it's sort of one of the things that David Sachs and Trump seem to be, got the eyes on it. So my hope is that it's getting looked at very closely in the sense that there's no anything going on that shouldn't be behind the scenes. Clearly, if it turned out to be the case, that would be devastating, I would say, to the in the short term to the Bitcoin sort of price and sort of belief in it. So my hope is that it's all above board. It seems, I hope that is the case. Clearly, not being in the company, you're never going to fully know, but I'm hoping there is an increase in transparency overall on the stable coins, and with the Americans sort of seem to be increasing their interest in it, I'm sure they'll be keeping a close eye, hopefully, and making sure it does what it says it should be.
Do you think that America is using stable coins to increase its political power and control over supposed allies, right? Like the EU. I mean, I think the UK just put up rules as to how much stable coins a single person can hold in their account, right? So I do think that there is worry, especially when it comes to our allies over in Europe, as to what it means to have these stable coins be proliferating across the world and having further dollar dominance. Do you think that this is the plan to increase dollar hegemony with stable coins?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it's the dollar is the strongest currency in the world, obviously. So they want to maintain that. If they see other countries or potentially going into the stable coin market, then I'm sure that's something they don't want to see or give power away to. So yeah, it looks to me like they're going to want to bring as much stable coin activity on shore as they can, and keep a close eye on things, and maintain that control in the way they do with the rest of the financial system.
Yes, yeah, indeed. Stablecoin. I mean, it's a lot of talk. Stablecoins. But hopefully, this is just the appetizer to the main meal, which is Bitcoin, that will actually bring true change to the financial system. Because again, stablecoins are just fiat with new rails. So I think it's important for Bitcoiners to keep the eye on the prize. But Paulo does seem as if he is a strong Bitcoin ally, advocate, and has done a lot to fund Bitcoin projects and to push Bitcoin forward. So it's interesting to see the attack. It seems as if every couple of years there's just going to be another wave of Tether FUD that aims to in some way attack Bitcoin as well. All right, and to wrap up the markets section, NASDAQ is asking the SEC to raise the IBIT options limit from 250,000 to 1 million contracts, enabling major institutions to hedge more effectively and roll out new Bitcoin-linked products. So don't need to go too deep into this, but I think it's just further evidence that, of course, IBIT is the best launch of any ETF in the history of ETFs. It is the #1 revenue maker for BlackRock at this time, and it has just grown further and further acceptance and is seeping deeper and deeper into the traditional financial system, as now the NASDAQ wants the SEC to boost the options limits from 250,000 contracts to 1 million to allow even larger players to hedge more effectively, get in this market, and to participate. And for everyone who wants to participate Bitcoin on their own, you got to do a little thing called buying Bitcoin. And if you're going to buy Bitcoin, we highly advise you do it over at Rhino. Because why? Getting access to Bitcoin financial services in the past has been slow, clunky, and scattered across multiple platforms, each with its own limitations. But Rhino over here, they are changing that. Rhino is a next generation Bitcoin banking app designed to handle all of your Bitcoin needs in one place. And here's what you can do with Rhino. Well, first, of course, you can buy Bitcoin at some of the lowest fees anywhere, means getting more sats for every dollar that you spend. You can make payments over the Lightning Network instantly with near zero fees. Another cool thing, you can send cash globally, fast and easy. Perfect for if you got friends or family in another country, you want to send them some cash, boom, happens just like that. And you can even set up automatic savings, weekly, daily DCA, so you can stack sats on your schedule and build wealth over time, set limit orders, do all the things to make sure that you are buying without even having to think about it, so your stack keeps on growing. And this is just the beginning, because soon Rhino will let you pay bills, borrow against your Bitcoin, and even save for retirement, all seamlessly within the app. And of course, security is a top priority, and Rhino protects your Bitcoin with biometric verification, 24/7 fraud protection, and the confidence of knowing your Bitcoin will never, ever be rehypothecated. For long-term holders, you can even secure your Bitcoin using a single or multi-sig option, such as Casa. Rhino links up with your Casa multi-sig so it can be one of your 5 keys. So go today to rhinobitcoin.com, or just tap the link below on YouTube and it will take you right there. Download the app and use the code Bitcoin News, and Rhino will drop you $10 of free Bitcoin right into your account as you get started. So super simple, very easy to use, very thankful to have Rhino as a sponsor for this show. Great people, great team, and a great app. So head on over to Rhino Bitcoin and get started with Rhino today. Nice. All right, Jimmy, let's keep this party going. I think the other big news that we should talk about that just happened today is Michael Saylor sort of caused a ruckus yesterday when he said that a green dot will be added to his Saylor tracker that, of course, follows all the purchases that MSTR makes, sparking speculation from stock buybacks to a potential preferred share issuance in Canada. Well, yesterday, nobody really knew what was happening. Of course, you can go to Saylor Tracker and follow along with every single purchase that Saylor makes at MSTR. All these dots, of course, represent a Bitcoin purchase since November of 24. It's just been absolutely insane, the amount of Bitcoin that they've added to their balance sheet. And they are now effectively at 650,000 BTC, over 3% of the total supply of all the Bitcoin that will ever be. But they made some headlines this morning when they came out and said that they are now in the game of having a USD reserve. So they established a $144 billion USD reserve to support dividends on its preferred stock and interest on outstanding debt. The reserve was funded through its ATM stock offering of common shares, selling MSTR on the market, and the company aims to grow it to cover over 24 months or more of dividend payments. So this is a big deal, right? Strategy. Michael Saylor, one of his 21 rules of Bitcoin is never sell your Bitcoin. And many people thought that they might have to sell some Bitcoin in order to fund the dividend payments of their new preferred shares. Saylor has definitely gone all in on this digital credit idea and is offering extremely competitive rates on these preferred shares, right? 10% per month is pretty good. But there's been a lot of questions as how are they going to pay for these dividends going on forward, because the software side of their business does not make enough money to pay the dividends. Well, the answer is now here. Strategy has started a cash reserve. Some people think this is brilliant. This ends all the FUD about having to questions about how to pay these dividends. Other people are saying this is crazy. What is he doing here? He is selling stock to buy dollars. And not too long ago, he said actually $1.4 billion worth of dollars. But just 5 years ago, he said him having a $500 million cash position was too much for him to handle, and as it was a melting ice cube. So what is it? Is this shoring up the balance sheet, or is this creating a giant melting ice cube to cause problems down the road? As a former stockbroker, what's your opinion?
Well, look, I think we could all agree it was overvalued in the recent past, and hence it's come down so much. But the levels it's at now, I'm not recommending people to buy. I'm always of the view that buy Bitcoin as opposed to buying a treasury company personally. But they've certainly an argument. They've supported the market and grown the price over the last couple of years, really. But I would always recommend just buying the Bitcoin rather than outsourcing it to someone else. And it just adds in extra complexities and such, which can be good. Obviously, there's financial engineering, but it does add that level of risk in which, if you just buy your Bitcoin and keep it safe, then I think that's the way forward.
What was the feeling in the UK this summer during the treasury company mania? I know you've got a couple over there that are homegrown, and there seems to be some diehard fans like Smarter Web and whatnot. But was it extremely popular? Because I know there has been some limitations with the ETFs and everything in the UK.
Hodl, you've got some others that are launching. I see some interesting ones come up. They still sort of get sent to my desk. Good, my background. I mean, it was never as strong as it was in the States. It kind of feels like each country gets their main one, and then there's some secondary competition to who's going to be sort of the up and coming. But Yeah, there was a lot of interest, I would say, but most of that, as always, most of that activity and interest was happening when these prices were hugely overvalued, right? And that's when people were rushing in and got their fingers burnt, right? Because they got greedy and they thought it would keep them going up. But ultimately, if a treasury company has X Bitcoin, it shouldn't really probably be trading on 20, 30x the valuation, which is what was going on, which I thought was crazy at the time. But yeah, for me, just buy Bitcoin, stack it away, and come back in a few years.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely am a strong proponent that you should have the vast majority of your Bitcoin position in Bitcoin itself. And if you have a couple of percent that you want to play with or investigate, try around in the market, it's your money, of course, feel free to. But as we've seen, yeah, you're right. I mean, the strategy had an MNAV of 3. Metaplanet was 11x MNAV, and so these some pretty crazy valuations that we saw over the summer, and they've all come down to earth right now. They're pretty much all around 1 MNAV, which means that they're trading for the value of their Bitcoin. So you pretty much did better if you just held Bitcoin rather than bought the top in a lot of these things. But one super interesting thing that I want to talk before we go here is Texas. There's been so much talk of a strategic Bitcoin reserve on the federal to state level. Well, Texas is the first ones to go out there and establish their strategic Bitcoin reserve by going out in the open market and buying it. They had a $10 million allocation, and they've spent $5 million of that so far. They did it on November 20th, buying the iShares Bitcoin ETF, the IBIT, at an $87,000 cost basis. But the coolest thing is that, yes, they did buy ETF shares at the moment, but they plan to self-custody this Bitcoin like a real Bitcoiner should. So it's a pretty big deal. A state, one of the largest states in America, of course, which has a top 10 global GDP on its own, just went out and bought $5 million worth of Bitcoin. So what do you think about this, Jimmy?
Sorry, it was cutting out a second ago. Apologies, I missed you for 20 seconds. So apologies.
Yeah, no, just about Texas being the first state in America to actually go out and buy Bitcoin themselves. There was lots of talk of these strategic Bitcoin reserves, and this is the first one to actually go out there and do it. What do you think about it?
Yeah, it's interesting. I always like this, the United States, because you do get that kind of one state moves, the other follows. So you're seeing it on a national level as well, right? When the US starts buying, then you sort of see some politicians in the UK saying we should do the same. So it's always good to see some states leading the way. And as I say, it's inevitable that states as well as countries are going to be buying more and more. So it's interesting to see who makes those moves first.
And then to bring it back home out of personal curiosity, because we're over here in the politics section to wrap it up. When we talk about some geopolitical things, one thing out of Europe was Italy. Giorgia Meloni, she's calling for her gold to be taken back from the European Central Bank, $300 billion worth of gold, and to be stored in Italy. So just from your perspective, in terms of the UK, Europe, the economy right now, and I do know that there was just the big budget was released in the UK in the last week, and that's it seems as if it's like appointment viewing from my perspective on X. Everybody in the UK gathers around to see when the budget is released. Seems like a very interesting social tidbit that I want to ask you about. So what's the deal like? Yeah. So what's going on in Europe?
It's all a little bit depressing, if I'm honest. If doesn't seem to be much good news coming out, and I think when you see this negativity, it becomes what they say it's going to be. So they put out a lot of bad news. It wasn't quite as bad as it was expected, but look, the UK's got a history of selling its gold at cheap levels, and it's got sold some Bitcoin along the way. So it's always depressing to see who's leading from the front. But there has been some politicians who are looking favourable for the next elections who have been a bit more positive on Bitcoin. As you saw with the stable coins they mentioned recently, it's going to be capped at 20,000, and some people coming out saying that's crazy because you're going to get the Americans just leading the way and getting ahead in various different ways, which seems to be what's going on at the moment. So not that optimistic, but I'm hoping some things start changing on the UK front.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why everybody, but people in Europe and the UK need Bitcoin, right? To protect themselves from the craziness of whatever their government leaders decide to do. Bitcoin allows you to get that financial armor, that protection from debasement, and your ability to move with it as well. I know that a lot of people in the UK are deciding to move to different parts of the world, and if there's one form of wealth that's the easiest to travel in large quantities with, it is Bitcoin for sure. So many benefits to starting your Bitcoin journey, no matter where you are. All right. Well, we are coming up towards the end of our hour here. Jimmy, your book is live. The auction is going on. You've got an event at PubKey tonight. What do you want to leave the people with before we go?
Yeah, so it's the charity auctions is live. It's been open for a couple of hours now. So that's in support of My First Bitcoin, which is an incredible charity who support Bitcoin education in dozens of countries. The auction's live, so if people go to historyofbitcoin.io, they can go there. It's sort of see all the details, see this real incredible 5,000-year-old fossilized oak book. And yeah, I would encourage as many people as to bid as possible, because it's going to such a good home. And if anyone's in New York tonight, 6:30 to 9, we'll be at PubKey, and I will. If you say that you listened here, I'll buy you a beer, and yeah, you can see the book in real life.
Cheers. Hold them to that. Go to PubKey tonight and get Jimmy to get you a PubKey on brand. My favorite beer there. Absolutely. Well, man, I mean, this product looks absolutely phenomenal. Will you have one on display there tonight?
So this is the first edition.
First one.
This is currently traveling to Dubai as we speak. So unfortunately, this one won't be there. But the collector's edition, that's the one that's in the stainless steel stand, engraved with the white paper. Still the incredible book inside with all the original pieces of art from all these incredible artists. That we have a couple of them down there. So we've got a live talk with Daniel Prince, John from My First Bitcoin, the founder, as well as some others, will be on the panel. So we'll have a little bit of fun, a quick 30 minutes of panel, and then it will be, people can see the book, have some beers, swap some stories, and have a good time.
Cheers, man. Congratulations once again. This is a big undertaking, and now it is finally free out in the world. Not free, of course, but its wings are open, and it's you're taking it around the world. So cool. Like a rock star with a book here, The History of Bitcoin. If you're interested, of course, go to historyofbitcoin.io. Everything you need to know is right there. Follow on X. And that is it for this edition of Bitcoin News Weekly Live. Again, our newsletter comes out every single Monday morning. Head over to bitcoinnews.com. Sign up right there on our homepage. Super simple. You are able to, of course, sign up right here. I signed up already, so the box is gone, but there you can get it. And it's at 7 a.m. Eastern, right in your inbox. And then we go live with a new guest every week. Jimmy, it's been a real pleasure. And I look forward to catching up tonight at PubKey.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. Appreciate it.
Cheers, man.